I took your grandma's Jag and turned it into a Mad Max off-road champ. The greatest accidentally good at off-roading vehicle ever manufactured.
I never would have thought Bodie luxury car meant trophy truck.
Now you might be thinking, wait, Tyler, this is kind of a departure from your normal special effects videos. As I always do in my videos nowadays, I like to incorporate my love for movies and film a cheesy movie scene, this time inspired by Mad Max. Also in this video, we're going racing to Hoopty Cross, where we'll be thrashing the thrash war on dirt and hitting jumps. I brought my Jag to a Supercross track? But first, a little backstory. See, my brother and I, we've been into cars for forever, and we're huge fans of the show Roadkill and cars like General Mayhem, the Off-Road Challenger, and NASCARlo. For years, I've been seeing them thrash cars on dirt, and it seems like some of the most fun you can have with a car. This car started out as a pretty mint 1988 Jaguar XJ6. But then I installed a James Bond ejector seat in it, and it saw some abuse. So my first order of business was to undo that work. I removed the passenger seat and the air cannon plumbing. I also had to weld the roof panel back in and reinforce it since I took out the sunroof mechanism.
No! Dude, I'm sorry, dude.
Unbelievable. I threw some flex tape on there, and now this thing is watertight. The main point to building this car was to put big tires on it. And to do that, I got to cut the fenders. Trimming the rear fenders was a bit more difficult because I had to cut into the door. And to fit larger tires on here, especially without a lift, we knew it needed a lot of bashing. We found some cheap used tires and replaced the stock 26-inch tires with 31-inch mud tires. It was critical to us that we kept the factory wheels, and man, were we happy that we did.
It's not a Jag if you don't have things that say, hey, it's a Jag. That's the whole part of having a Jag, is you get to say, I have a Jag.
Is it a Jag?
But to make it all fit, we added 1-inch spacers. Set her down for the first time on the new tires. Oh my God, it's so tall. Dude, the ground clearance is unreal. And yet, it still rubbed a good bit. Brandon did a great job flaring the fenders with a cheap rolling tool.
Front flares, money. The back flares, not good. They're like inverted. They were flared out in the back, and then one bump, and then it gets tucked in, at least on the back right.
Since we had to trim so much of the fenders, the rear had some pretty large gaps leading into the trunk, so I filled them with spray foam to keep the dirt out. We knew bigger tires would lift the car some, but we added a bunch of spacers to the front coils, all the spacers, to the point where the coils had a pretty significant bend to them.
Who, like, you wouldn't have thought, oh, I'm gonna take a luxury car that's low and it's gonna be fantastic on whoops and jumps.
We didn't touch the drivetrain at all. We didn't touch the suspension except for adding things like limiting straps so it didn't eject a coil, and bump stops in the rear so it didn't smash the fenders.
Yeah.
And that's it. Except the bump stops they were kissing at ride height, so they were constantly working, and they basically just increased the spring rate of the whole rear end.
Bump stop is not supposed to be constant suspension. Ours is constant suspension.
Except, well, we trashed our crappy rushed bump stop mounts at the race, and then by the time we drove out here, they were doing all sorts of nasty stuff and making it horrible to drive. So we cut them out, and now we're back to stock suspension in the rear, totally.
Yeah.
And it handles like a dream on the washboards.
Yep. You don't feel anything. Like literally nothing. I never would have thought Bodie luxury car meant trophy truck.
Converting this luxury car to a race car meant the whisper quiet exhaust had to go. So we cut 2 mufflers off, but it still wasn't any louder than the fuel pump. We cut 2 more mufflers off.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Hey, look! Whoa! Oh, shoot! How soft are the motor mounts? I think about 4 wraps of baling wire should solve that problem.
Might need to make a mount off of these bolts.
For the baling wire?
No, just weld a...
Yeah, so we can wrap the baling wire around it. You think I'm kidding about the baling wire. But even then, we still weren't satisfied. So we took it to a cheap exhaust shop and had a 3-inch pipe with a glass pack put in. Turns out this Jag had 4 mufflers and 2 large cats for this straight 6. It's a matter of time before I take this thing off a jump and plow the front end into some dirt. And there's a whole lot of delicate stuff underneath here. So we're gonna build a super beefy front bumper and skid plate. The downside is we don't have a tube bender. And we're also trying to do this on the cheap. So we didn't get DOM tubing, we got welded. And we're just gonna cut and miter the bends. The skid plates were made from 3/16 steel plate and some tubing. Not the most low profile thing ever, but it worked. So normally rock sliders like these attach to the frame rail of the car with standoffs here. But since our Jag is unibody, it doesn't have a frame rail like this. For rock sliders, I took the cheap and easy route and used some square tubing I had laying around and welded it straight to the rocker panel and the pinch weld underneath. The problem here is the rocker has very little structure to it, but hopefully the 1/8-inch wall tubing stiffens it. All of these parts help us to not get stuck, but when we do get stuck, we need something to help yank us out. So I made these recovery points. And they conveniently fit under the rear valance where the stock exhaust came out, so one could be fooled into thinking we were hooking up a recovery strap to the muffler. Of course, a big part of the vibe of this car are the KC daylighters, and we had to make a custom mount for them, install a fuse block, and overhead switch panel. I didn't realize until the car overheated at the racetrack that the overflow port points boiling hot water right at our new fuse block, so that's great. Of course, this thing wouldn't be a trophy truck without a rear-mounted spare, so I made a tire mount by welding the factory bracket that was in the trunk onto the trunk lid. Obviously, we need to be able to fix this car in the middle of nowhere, so I had to carry a bunch of tools. This might be my favorite thing about the car. At the race, we emptied out all the unnecessary tools and equipment to cut weight. I'm gonna be putting a roll hoop in this thing in case I put it on its lid. And since we're doing a budget build on this thing and I don't have a tube bender, I'm gonna be using this 2-inch square tube that I happen to have left over from an old project. Our roll cage,
Well, roll hoop.
roll hoop, excuse me. Our roll hoop meets exactly 0 specifications for any tech inspection at any racetrack. But it's really just for like, if we're rock crawling or like taking a slow corner on a road out like this and we roll it over. It's not for like high speed collision.
It was mainly for the people around us we talk with, so they don't freak out and they go, oh, that's a genius idea. But we know it might be better with no hoop.
Just to comfort our family who doesn't know anything about building cages.
Yeah, but don't tell them driving on a daily basis with the roll hoop is not the move. We're totally not going to tell them that.
Is that not a thing?
Dude, you get in an accident, you smack your head on that thing with no helmet, you're done. You're done.
Because the car no longer had a passenger seat, we grabbed one at a wrecking yard. All right, we gotta hot wire the motor on this seat so we can slide it forward to get to the bolts. I robbed some wires from another car in the yard that were way too small. Switch. Oh! Hey, God, that's hot.
Yeah, dude.
Real smooth brain move there, so I grabbed some bigger wires. My wire clamp. Oh, that got real hot. cooked the battery. I just cooked that battery, being a dummy. All right. Now we have a British seat for our British car. No way. This seat was way too good for our garbage car.
These seats,
Super cushy. It's like a suspension seat, but factory with it's just
no
foam.
movement. Fantastic. So if you don't want to buy a suspension seat, go to the nearest junkyard, grab one out of the Jag.
Or Range Rover, the passenger seat's not
Or
bad.
Range Rover, the same amount of cushion. Okay, maybe a little less.
For the driver, we installed a 5-point harness. The bummer about the cushy driver's seat is if you were to actually take this off a big jump with a harness tight, like totally cinched down, you would hit the bottom of the jump and just go, "Ugh," and like your straps are totally loose. And for one of the more critical items, I had to fabricate a custom solution. And they worked out pretty well, even on the race course. And of course, we couldn't go racing without driver names. The weekend before the race, we drove it 2 hours over the mountain pass to Eastern Washington for its first test drive. But as soon as we got to the desert, the Jag blew a coolant hose. Here's a clip of me trying to film my brother revving it while I'm totally oblivious to it puking its guts out. Did totally fine over the drive, and then we were fooling around in the dirt a little bit, and this thing starts puking antifreeze all over the ground. We've narrowed it down to a coolant hose just under the intake, and it's split about a 1/4 inch long. But we're out in the middle of nowhere with very little cell reception, and we think we're gonna have to go drive back into town and go get a hose or something to patch it. We brought our support vehicle, my daily driver. So we got some supplies at an auto parts store in town, pulled out the tools and got to work. In desperation of being stranded, we tried to patch the hose with some flex tape just to be able to hobble it into town, but there was no way to reach the hose with it being underneath the intake manifold. So we ended up using the Prius, what a champ by the way, to flat tow the Jag up gravel hills and down into town where a tow truck picked it up. We fixed it during that week, and the next weekend it was time for some racing.
Boogity, 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 let's go.
Start your engine!
Hoopty Cross is an off-road race started by the Gambler 500 where you can enter literally any car. Preferably a car that was never meant for off-roading, and the cheaper the better. People race all sorts of wild garbage here, and they drive them hard. The race was just outside of Portland, so I rented a truck and trailer and we headed down from Seattle. The night before the race, we stopped at a family friend's shop in Oregon to show him the Jag. Tyler builds off-road cars and runs a machine shop. I'm not talking in third person here, there's another Tyler. We told him we just installed some new bump stops, so he offered some nitrogen to help us fill them up. But Brandon, being the monkey he is, broke the Schrader valve off. I don't know, classic night before the race, try to improve something, but you end up breaking it move. But Tyler, being the good dude he is, hopped on the phone and started calling everybody he knew with an off-roading shop in the area, trying to find us a new fitting. He ended up turning a new brass fitting from scratch and robbing a Schrader valve off his own race car. And on top of that, he gave us some nitrogen and shock fluid to fill them up. Good dude, so go give Tyler at Total Metal Innovations a look. I feel like I'm driving a bus, the steering wheel is huge!
before finish. I'm like,
Oh,
floor,
bro, it's just like
get sideways. It gets sideways. I'm
smack the lip, whoop, drop down, snap,
and then boom. Racing in this thing was pretty gutless, but once you just like foot to the floor, never lift, and you get momentum, that thing scoots. Okay, it doesn't scoot. Let me rephrase that. It can get chucked into a corner and then give it a few seconds, then it gets back up in the RPM and you can go flying.
You basically like have one good corner with a long run up, and then you sacrifice the next corner trying to get back up to speed.
It's every other corner.
Yes. We headed out to the desert again to film the Mad Max scene and beat on the car some more. But this time I traded my trusty Prius for a U-Haul. This thing is gutless. What are we doing with this thing way out here?
Oh, hanging around.
I remember a time of chaos, but most of all, I remember the road warrior, the man we called Max. To understand who he was, you have to go back to another time, when the world was powered by the black fuel and gasoline. Gone now, swept away. Without fuel, they were nothing. And in this maelstrom of decay, ordinary men were battered and smashed. Men like Max. The warrior Max.
My Arrakis, my Dune.
That's the wrong desert movie.
The EV gang. I can't see him at all. There were a few things I 3D printed for the Jag, one of which being these clips that held the jack handle. They gave me a chance to try out a different CAD program for the first time, which happens to be this video's sponsor, Onshape, a CAD and PDM system. The modeling tools were very easy to figure out, and I was up and running in no time since it's very similar to other CAD programs I've used before. It's entirely cloud and browser-based, which allows you to collaborate with partners on a project in real time, similar to like a Google Doc. What's nice about choosing Onshape to iterate your designs with is that every action you make to a part is recorded in a GitHub-inspired method of branching so that you can roll back to any previous change and branch off into a different version. That means everyone in your group always has access to a single source for the up-to-date design. Onshape runs on nearly any operating system or device, even iOS or Android mobile. If you're an engineer or a product designer, consider checking out Onshape for your new CAD program and get started for free at onshape.pro/Tyler Bell.